Hello. Today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about a feature of the TR-09 drum machine, this guy here, that I think a lot of people either don't know about or aren't really talking about for some reason. It's something that I've found really useful, so I think it's going to be a good point to share, especially with the new TR-08 coming, which I imagine will have the same functionality. Now, the TR-09 reimagining or remake of Roland's iconic TR-909 drum machine isn't without its criticisms. Analog purists are immediately leaping to say that it's not analog. I still think it sounds great. I think that's not really a concern of mine. But one thing that is a bit more of a pain in the butt is lack of individual instrument outs. You only get phones and the main line out. You can get at some assignable outputs if you use USB to your DAW or your computer. You can split four channels out of the device. However, if you're like me and you want to have a kind of a completely computerless setup, that's not very useful. However, one thing that I think a lot of people don't know about is you can hard pan the instruments on the device. Now, if we just run the pattern here, so the pattern's running, everything's coming out in one thing. Say if I wanted to apply the built-in effects of this mixer, it applies it to everything, as you would expect, because it's just got one output. What we can do though is if you go into the menu, scroll through to out, you can then choose which instruments you want to put out. Now we can select the bass drum, the toms, and what that'll do is it will hard pan the instruments, the ones that are flashing to one channel, the others to another channel. Now, if I unplug this and plug in this cable here, which I got off eBay, it was like a few pounds, so it's probably pretty rubbish, but it does the trick. And it's just 2 mono 1/4 inch. On this side it's 3.5. We can plug that into the mixer, and then if I play the pattern again, it doesn't sound any different, but using the channel controls I now can take the instruments in and out. That's quite cool. It also means that I can apply the effects as I want to each channel. Now this is quite good. I'm sure people who want to use a device like this in a live scenario might find that quite useful, because rather than use the built-in mute features in the TR-09, you can actually use it on your mixer, keeping everything in one place. It's not without its problems. I've noticed that you do get a little bit of sort of crossover between the channels, but that might be due to the cable when the volume's really, really low. But it certainly, I think, in my opinion, adds a lot of range to the device. Where that gets really interesting though is if you pair it with the little guy that's hiding behind the TR-09. Now this is where we can have a little bit of fun. Now you'll see in front of me I have the Korg Electribe Sampler, something that is kind of like the heart of a lot of my setup when I'm doing things. It's good for doing MIDI sequences, it's good for doing other things. One feature it has is it has an audio in, and you can use the audio in to do audio processing. You can apply effects to it and things like that. It's quite cool. But what we can also do with a little bit of sort of hacky tweakery, we can change it so that we can process the separate channels of the TR-09. I'll try and show you how to do that. I can't show you the screen unfortunately, so I'll try and annotate it a little bit on the video. But first things first is if we start the sequence on here, we can't hear anything, because one of the things that you need to do really to make this work at all is turn off the audio in through feature in the global settings of the Electribe. So now it will only come through if I use the oscillator, as they call it in their parlance. If I change that to audio in stereo, and you'll see that these two buttons are lit up because it's a stereo input. Now if I hold this down, you can hear the TR-09. But what I can do is, if I pan it all the way to the left, I can only hear the closed hi-hat and stuff like that. Now, it's important to note that for this to work, you have to run the Electribe in mono mode. If you run it in stereo mode, this won't work, this little trick. So keep that in mind. That might be a deal breaker for some, but I've got the main out, only the left plugged into the mixer here, as you can see. Now, what we can do, if we sequence. Oh, mute that crap. If we trigger this, so we can hear that, then what we would do is now that out of sync metronome is probably going to drive someone's OCD crazy, but that means we've now got that coming through there. We can now do the same on another channel. So if I just change this oscillator to audio and stereo, but then change the panning, go all the way to the right, it's only bringing through the kick drum. So if we do the same thing, and there we go. So these are now coming through onto the Electribe. I can mute them, but probably more interesting than that, if I want to, I can start applying effects to it. And what's quite neat about that as well is obviously it opens up all the powerful modulation options that you have with the Electribe. So if I just get through here to something that's interesting, like that. So we can get some pretty crazy things going on there. Anyone who's familiar with the Electribe, you'll know what sort of stuff you can do with that. Let's just turn that off at the moment. And likewise, for the other channel, we can do exactly the same thing. It also allows you to use the master effects present in the Electribe. So perhaps if I triggered this, and then we go you get the idea. There's lots of different things you can do on that. You've essentially got the power of a mini Chaos pad, and that, in my eyes, makes this an incredibly powerful little duo here. Obviously, losing the stereo abilities of the Electribe is a bit of a bummer. That might be a complete deal breaker, but you know, being able to do it at all is pretty cool. So that's it. That's what I've found with my experience of the TR-09. In my opinion, it adds a great extra dimension to it, and I think if you've got concerns about it being a toy, then this may go some way to demonstrating to you that it is actually useful in more real world scenarios than you might think. So anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed and found it informative, and look forward to seeing more on the channel.